Hey everybody, it's Vicky here with Lavinia World Video Design Team, and today I am going to share with you a card that was actually inspired by one of the Lavinia World Design Team members, Anya, and she made a whole set of Christmas cards that she was going to share with anybody, and they really are just fabulous. So a little bit of a case, but I put my own spin on it, and I thought I would share with you how I did it. So we're just going to use a few stamps today, but the nice thing is that we're only going to do two colors. So those of you that are new and maybe you are or maybe you aren't a little intimidated by all the colors and the backgrounds, I want to share with you another easy way to create a stunning background with just a couple of colors, and it's super simple. So we're just gonna get started here. I've got a blank piece of card base, and something that you won't see from me very often is we're actually going to put this on a white card. I could probably count on two hands the number of times I've used a white card base. I almost always do black. I like the way it frames it, but we're going to go with white today for that. So the two colors of ink that we're going to use is the VersaFine Clair, this Monarch. It's an amazing, just a very majestic purple. I love it. And then, of course, we're going to use our go-to, or at least my go-to, VersaFine Clair, the Nocturne. So let's get started. I've already laid out on my platform the wreath stamp that we're going to use and the fairy that we're going to use. So we will start with the wreath set because that's going to be the main focus in our background tonight. And I'm going to stamp that in the purple, and I could put magnets on it if I want, but I actually am pretty comfortable this is going to stay. Now, this is a new ink pad, so it's nice and wet for us, but I am going to stamp it twice because I want it to be dark, and I want to make sure that we don't fill in any space or miss any spaces here. So you can see now with the ink on it, I'm going to give it a nice press just to be sure we don't miss any of those fun little berry spots on there. And you can see how great it turns out. It's such a pretty purple. I hope you all can see that in the video. Let me just stamp this one more time. All right. Squeak there. All right, perfect. I have to tell you something kind of funny. I kept wiping off my pad, or not my pad, but the stamp when I first stamped this one, because in the middle of some of the berries, there is a dot. And that dot is there on purpose. You can, let me see if I can point one out to you. There's a dot, there's a dot, there's a dot. Anyway, I thought there was something wrong with my stamp, and there's not. There, it is part of the stamp. Okay, so I've used just an acrylic block for the next stamp that we're going to use, and that's the sprig on this. I don't know if you can't quite see it yet because I don't have that inked up. Let me ink it so you can see. It's really kind of a fun one, and it's going to be another one of those versatile stamps. And I'm going to link to all of those. I'm going to go ahead and start at the bottom because that's going to keep me from kind of blocking your view. But we're going to use that stamp off technique. And so I'm going to start first all the way down at the bottom, and I'm just going to press it. Try not to rock it so you don't get those dark edges. And then I am going to use it 3 times. You could even do 4. There's always going to be a little bit of ink left on there. Let me hold that up a little bit closer so you can see. There. And we're going to do that all the way around the bottom, and then I will come back in with the darker on the top. And we're creating the shadow. So there's 1 and 2 and 3 again. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start to turn my stamp because I want to create the same kind of arc that we have on the sprig branch that's there. Okay. And again, 1 and 2 and 3. So now it looks like I've got more light than I have dark. So I'm going to come back in with my dark, and I'm just going to fill that in because we only want that light to be kind of a shadow just for the definition, or to create the depth on our card. So that's all I'm doing right now. Come back to the bottom and switch the direction here. And I'll just fill in a little bit. Now, you can go back in and shade your edges if you want to. I probably won't do that this time because I like the way it looks. So now we're coming up to where the branches or our sprigs didn't meet. Now I could have come back in with the smaller one or even again with the bigger one, but I didn't want that. I didn't want to distract from it, and it went a little heavier down here, so we lose a little bit of that berry. So you can almost just use it as a template or the shape. I'm going to turn us around so that you guys can see. And I'm going to start to create. So through here, obviously our stamp is going to be a little bit straighter because we are going through to create kind of that archy space in between here. Hopefully you can see that, and I'm going to come across. Just want to be sure that you are staying fairly even so that it looks like it's symmetrical. All right, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. And if it's easier for you, you can stamp off, you could do all of the dark at one time and then just have a scrap piece of paper and do your stamp off that way. 3. And you could do this with a couple of different colors, maybe find something that that goes well together. Navy and lime would be kind of pretty. You could even fill it in with some pinks or, whatever works for you. All right, I'm going to do a couple more on this direction. We're good there. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. A little heavier down here. I think I'm actually going to come back in here and I'm going to put a dark right there, and I think one right here. There. I'm really happy with that. So now what I might do as an afterthought is come back in here with a marker or some Nuvo drops or something like that to give those some color. But we're actually going to cut part of this out using our die. And the way we're going to mine it, I'm using about a 4-inch circle die. And we're going to come across. So I'm actually cutting quite a bit of that out tonight. So I'm not going to worry about it. So in this instance, unfortunately, I've actually hidden that sprig branch. That was not my intention. You can actually see it. Let me pull the sample card back out that I did in the navy. It actually shows through a little bit more. But where I switched the stamp out and changed it, it was there. So I am going to just take my platform. I've got it down here on the floor. Normally I would pause, but this is going to be pretty quick. So I'm just going to lay this down. Okay. So we are here, and I'm sorry it didn't cut all the way through. this is a thicker card base. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to leave that down there. So now we've got this C cut out, or it looks like a C. And something else I don't normally do, so a lot of first times tonight, I'm going to put this here, right? So our card is here. I am actually going to stamp directly on my card base right here. And that is not something I do. So again, I've got the fairy all lined up, and I remembered to wipe off my wreath this time. I didn't a time before. Let me put this back in the light. Now for this one, I may go ahead and I'm going to put my magnets down because the card base. And what I should have done is waited to fold it, but I didn't. So let's make sure she's going to close good without hitting a magnet. So we can come right here to the top. And I'm going to stamp her in black. I re-inked tonight, so she's going to be nice and wet. We're still going to have to stamp her probably twice to get that nice crisp image. And if I miss a spot or two, I'm going to go back in with my Sharpie. That's a trick I like to share with you guys. The magnets are away. Let me take these off. Okay, let's try this again. And I'm going to give her a good press. And I'm going to give it just a minute. I want that ink to soak into the paper. Sometimes if you don't do that, and because the VersaFine Clair will dry fairly quickly, but not all the way, give it a chance to set, because you don't want to put more ink on your stamp and then you stamp back on and all it's going to do is pick it up. Kind of like when you're painting a wall. If you're impatient like I am, you try to go back over it or stretch that paint just a little bit, starts to literally just take it back up off the wall. So be patient. Okay, we're going to give her a good press. And just let it set for a second. Okay. All right, that's pretty good for the second impression, so I'm happy with that. You see her. So it looks pretty plain, and you could use this as a card base, you know, maybe just, you could use some of the other stamps. The Whimsical Wisps is a fun one. You could drop it down. Maybe just make a little something around her. So now what we're going to do, you'll start to see the idea. She's going to be sitting inside there. But it's still missing a little something. So let's have some fun with her. Now I'm going to move this all the way, but I want to kind of keep an eye on where she is. And what we're going to do is I've got a, close that so I don't use the wrong one, move it to the side. Okay, I've already done a circle. This one is about a 2-inch circle. And I'm going to put it all the way across her body this way and a little bit on, I think that's like a beetle. It's got little feeders or feelers, almost look like pinchers, but I'm going to go with beetle. And she's kind of interested in him. Let's get these little fuzzies off. Okay. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blender brush using the Monarch Purple. Put that in the screen there. And I'm going to start off the page as to not make it too harsh, and I am going to go all the way around her like this, because we don't want all that white in there, or maybe you do, and that's okay too. It's yours, however you make it. Remember, we are our own worst critics. Off the page and all the way around, and most of this is going to be hidden by our the mask that we made. And now look at her. She is totally highlighted in there. So pretty. And we're going to turn it around. Now, we could have moved her up a little bit. I think I'll probably adjust that. I'll make a set of these so that we're not missing her. But let's see if I can bring this down so that it's somewhat even. And we're there. pretty happy with that. So I'm going to put some glue on this real quick. And let's go ahead and get it down. And I used my glue a little bit ago. I am struggling tonight, and I apologize, everybody. And the reason things seem to dry up on me tonight is I actually had started this a few minutes ago, and I got all the way to the part where I shaded her, this purple area right here, or to start shading her, and don't you know that I used my purple brush on black ink. Couldn't figure out why it was bleeding across. It wasn't bleeding. I used black ink. All right. So now I want to put this on, and I've left about an eighth of an inch as my frame here, with the white on the white. And if you're going to do that, use the same white paper. Don't use your normal stamping paper and then a card base unless you know it's from the same place, because you want it to be the same. I'm going to turn this over to mush it just in case I've got anything on my fingers tonight. And how pretty is she? Now, I feel like she's a little bit hidden in there. Get my glue down so it doesn't dry out again. Okay. And so I've got this, let's see if I can tell you what color it is. A Nouveau Drops, one of my favorite things to embellish with. And this one is called Midnight Sky. And it's actually a blue, but it's dark enough because we're just going to put that around the edge. Now, I could do a harsh circle, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Not really harsh, but I could outline this. But unless your hand is 100% steady, you're never going to get that nice smooth circle unless you've got a stamp. I don't. So what I do is I usually outline it where I want it. You can see I already messed it up there. And I want to come back down here, and I want to do the same thing on the bottom. Get my hand out of there. And I'll use my finger. So now what I'm going to do is I just go in and press it, because I want it to be, kind of not all over, but kind of mush it out a little bit so that it looks even around your card. Probably bouncing a little in your face there, sorry. And we come across. And if it doesn't even out for you that way, you can always add more. Nouveau is a lot of fun. Then, what I did on the blue card, and I'm actually going to make these in several colors. I've just got some little bling spots here. And I'm going to put 3. I typically do. I'll put 1 down here. And you just want to put them where it's going to draw the recipient's eye to it. This would be dog hair stuck on that one. You want them to see the whole card. You worked hard on it. Anyway, that's it. Super pretty. You got all that color, all that dimension in there. And if you wanted to, you could do this even in black all the way around, and then do a really colorful background. And now that I've said that, that might be the next one that I make. So I love this. I'm having a great time with it. So thank you, Anya, for some of the inspiration. Here it is in blue again. I love that. Anya made it using the mermaids, and she used the reindeer, and so many of the fairies, and they all look just fabulous with that. So this is my take on casing, something that I enjoyed seeing. So be sure to join us at Lavinia World on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on our Facebook page, and leave a comment if there's something you'd like to see, a technique you want me to try with you. I'm happy to do that. And come have some fun with us. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.